Alright, so now we've got most of the grading done, especially around the outside, the parking area, our walls, our road. We're going to grade our pond. So we have to make some determination and then do some a little bit of trial and error to figure out what our top of our pond is going to be, our storage. We know we need a storage of about 1,850 cubic yards of volume, and we got some other parameters that we know. Our grade side slopes 3 to 1, and we've got a freeboard of 2 feet. So we have to determine kind of what our pond is going to be, basically our elevation. So we have a low spot back here in the back of the parking lot behind the building, and we want to push this water that we've collected, runoff, down along this side where we know we got another low spot here from our grading and another low spot here, and we're going to drop down into the pond somewhere in this area over here with a head wall. So what we need to do is determine that length. So we're going to come back over here, and I'm going to use the measure command, and I'm going to choose, instead of just 2 points, I'm going to choose sequential. So I'm going to start back here at the pond, or this catch basin location, which will be right here. We know we're going to move it this way, so we're probably going to have to put a junction box somewhere over in here. And the location is not super critical. And then we know we're going to have a catch basin here, and we're going to run it down. We have another catch basin down in this area, and we're going to come out here somewhere, probably in this area in here, with a head wall. So if I click there, I look over, I'm at about 850 feet. So we then have to determine, so we know about our long run is about 850 feet. So let's go and open up our coordinate scroll by clicking on the checkbox down here in the lower right corner. We will come over here, let's close our measure distance. Pick the surface just so that we know that we're choosing the right surface. That'll show up here. If you don't know, you can come over here and pick surface name. And when we come over here, you can see that we are working on the finished design surface. And let's look and see if our rim elevation in this area is about 452. We're going to drop it down a minimum of 4 feet. So if we open up our calculator, we can do, let's see, 452, right? Is that what we determined? So 452, we're going to minus 4 feet. 448 is going to be our starting invert. We know we've got 850 feet. We're going to multiply that by 0.5%, so 0.005. So we got to drop it another 4.25 feet. So our top of pond elevation, let's say, is going to be at 444. So right, we had 448. We're going to drop another 4 feet, 444. So that's the magic number that we're going to start with down in this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some manipulation along our corridor, because our corridor is what's going to tie this location together. All right, so we're just going to move this guy over here, and we'll come back down into here, and let's close that for now. So down in this area, we've got this, right now we've just got this daylighted out, and we know that we're gonna have to change it. So if we look a little bit closer, all the runoff, we know we're cutting in here. So we know our elevation. Actually, let's open up our coordinate scroll. We can see that our finished design elevation up here is 454, and we know that our top of pond is going to be lower than that at 444. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to run this off at the same the 3-to-1 slope from the hinge. So instead of having this ditch that we have up here originally, we're just going to go from the shoulder, and we're just going to go straight down into the top of our pond. So what I'm going to do, if we look down here, we can see this channel is actually coming down, and then we come into a fill. So this is all in cut. If we look here along our finished design, you can see 444 is going to be somewhere up in this area, up in here on our finished design. So what's going to happen is this water here will actually be in a berm, you know, when we come up. So we're going to be actually higher here. So we have a berm here. It'll catch a little bit of the flow here, which will dump down into here, which we're going to handle a little bit differently later. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to start down here where our cut is. And I'm going to come in and we're going to go back to our corridors, and we're going to go to our main corridor here, and we're going to right click and insert a corridor template. We're going to start down here at where our transition between our cut and our fill zone is. So you can see down in this area we're going to a fill and a cut. We're going to create a copy definition, and we're just going to call this pond, and I'm going to copy the full typical. I'll go ahead and insert that in. What we're going to do is we're going to make some adjustments to the right side slope. We're actually going to remove it and do another conditional instruction temporarily. So this is just a temporary method of determining and figuring out where our top of our pond is going to be at a 3-to-1 slope to get to 444 along the edge of this road. So I'm going to come up to the side slope here, and we're going to delete that piece right there. We're going to keep the ditch 4 slope, and we'll keep that 1 foot over at 2-to-1, and then we'll go to a 3-to-1 from there for our pond. So what we're going to do is we'll come into the up in here, and we're going to add a conditional instruction first. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to add a, actually we're going to add a side slope or a slope elevation first. So we're going to come in and we're going to go from 5, and we're going to go at a negative, or actually a 3-to-1. We'll start there, and we'll go to an elevation of 444, except we want this to be elevation, not delta elevation. So let's call this pond top. So we'll go ahead and add that piece in. So basically what it's tying in is our current design is above our finished, our original ground. Okay, so, or yeah, so our rock is here, and our original ground is you can see it, yeah, floating down through here. Okay, so that's where we're tying in. So our 0.6 is above the original ground here, so we're gonna have to, you know, create a berm here and then tie it back into original ground. You'll notice up in this area though is it stops because at a positive 3-to-1 we're going, and then we're actually below the original ground. So if I move my cursor up to this location here, you can see that that 0.6 is below basically the original ground. So 444 doesn't exist here. It's actually got to be continued down here. We're actually below the original ground. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a conditional instruction. So I'm going to add another instruction. This one's going to be a conditional, and basically it'll be we'll just say 444 above. Okay, and our condition is going to be an else if, and basically if the node is above the original ground or below the original ground, okay, we want the original ground to be surface, so below the surface original ground. Let's pick that node, pod 6. Okay, we'll add that. It's going to put the conditional in, okay, and everything else is here. So what we want to do is we want to add another instruction. We want to say if it's above it, then we do another slope elevation, and we're going to go from here. The slope is going to be -3 with an elevation of 444. And we'll call this pond top as well. And we'll go ahead and add that. So it'll remodel the surface, and now you can see we're going to 444 there. The rest of this stays the way it is. But basically we're going from below it to above it. Okay. And then we want to edit this piece here as well. So let's go and now go to edit, tie to park, right? We're going to change that side slope. So we're going to get rid of this side slope. and we're going to insert another instruction. So we're going to select here. We're going to add an instruction. It's going to be slope elevation from 5, minus 3 to 1, elevation being 444. Again, we'll call this pond top, and we'll add that. Okay, so now we can close that. So now let's go ahead and rebuild our surface. So let's go down to our surfaces, our finished design. We'll hit rebuild. It's going to adjust this over here. So now you can see we're at 444 here, 444 there, and over to there. Okay, so that determines the top of our pond. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go into our surface tab. We're going to go to edge break line. We're going to choose an edge break line for our main road. It's going to be a temporary break line. Now that we have this, we're going to come in here. We're going to pick that break line, and we're going to break it. So I'm going to go to CAD. I'm going to go to break. I'm going to break it here, and I'm going to come down and we're going to break it here as well. So we'll pick that. We'll break it there. We don't need this piece, so we can go ahead and delete that. We'll come back. We'll probably need that later, but we'll come back and work that in. And we don't need this piece here, so let's delete that. Now we go back to our corridor because we've got this break line. Let's go back to our corridor here, to our pond. We're going to edit that, and we're going to get rid of this slope elevation, so we don't need that anymore. And we're going to do the same thing for the tie to park. Right? 'Cause all we want to do there is determine where this line was. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this conditional. Okay, and we've got our slope elevation here. We're going to get rid of that one as well, right? Because we don't need that anymore. Because what's going to happen is our surface is going to tie to this line that we're going to create. So then the same thing with the tie to park. Let's edit that, and let's get rid of that slope elevation there. So again, we're just using that main road and the condition to determine what a elevation is at 444 for our top of pond. So we're going to come back through, we're going to clean this line up, and we're going to actually clean this up as well. We'll show you that next.